Many expert and legendary commanders in history fought battles titled as Masterstrokes due to their ingenuity, strategic impact, and crushing results. Today we look at the masterstrokes of Chinese commander Sun Bin in the battles of Guiling and Maling. Sun Bin was a great commander serving the Chinese state of Qi. As with many commanders of his time, his date and year of birth are not exactly known, but it is believed he was a descendant of Sun Tzu. As a child, he would study under a hermit with another student named Pang Quan, who would become his sworn brother. The two had joined the state of Wei, but Pang Quan grew jealous of Sun Bin's expertise and saw him as a threat, so he framed Sun Bin for treason. After many punishments, such as branding, his kneecaps removed, and needing to feign insanity, Sun Bin escaped to Qi. He would become the chief military advisor of Qi and the deputy of General Tianzi. Sun Bin's first feat that would be immortalized in the annals of history was the bout of Guiling in 354 BC. Pan Quan would lead a Wei invasion against the state of Zhao and would besiege the capital city of Handan. Zhao was in a desperate situation and requested aid from Qi. Qi sent out Tianhe as the commander and Sun Bin as the strategist. The Qi army almost immediately shocked everyone, as they didn't march to leave Handan. Sun Bin had suggested they should instead march to Dalian, now undefended capital of Wei. This would force Pang Huan to enter a rushed and rapid march to protect the capital. This would become one of the 36 stratagems retitled Besieging Wei to Rescue Zhao. When Pang Quan heard the reports of Sun Bin's move, he took his best cavalry and bolted to the capital. Someone questioned why Pang Quan only took his elite cavalry, none of his infantry or other units. This was for two main reasons. One, Pang Quan needed to be fast, less units allowed for greater speed. And two, the Qi army attacking Dalian was relatively small. His crack cavalry should have covered the job, and so Pang Quan went back to Dalian, taking the quickest roads he had. It was as he approached Guiling that he would be ambushed by Sun Bin's large army. Sun Bin's decisive victory at Guiling would force Pang Quan's invasion of Zhao to end. It would change Chinese warfare forever. As previously mentioned, besieging Wei to rescue Zhao would be recorded in Chinese military philosophy as one of the 36 stratagems. The core principle involved attacking your enemy somewhere to force them to pull troops away from their own attack or to cease it all. And this would be one of, if not the first time in recorded history, such a maneuver would be done. It is important to note how early this was in time, being in 354 BC, making it only 17 years after Epaminondas debuted the oblique order at Leuctra, and 20 years before Alexander the Great would score a great victory and cross the Granicus. This simple fact shows the innovation and genius of Sun Bin. While the creation of that stratagem alone would be enough to make the Battle of Guiling a great battle, Sun Bin's other trick, sending most of his force to Guiling, made this battle a masterstroke. Sending only a small portion of his force to Dalian tricked Pang Huan as to the size of Sun Bin's army, and made Pang Huan think he would be okay with only his crack cavalry. This meant that when Pang Huan arrived at Guiling, not only was his army tired, not only was he caught by surprise, but he also was outnumbered and had no way to victory. Such is one of the hallmarks of a brilliant strategist. A brilliant strategist often doesn't create a brilliant victory in a battle while outnumbered 3-1 by elite troops, but instead ensures victory before the engagement starts. To rephrase it, a brilliant strategist doesn't make a path where there wasn't one. They make sure the path was always there. Sun Bin's next masterstroke would happen 12 to 13 years later, at the Battle of Maling. Pang Quan was besieging the capital of Han, Xinjiang. Han requested Qi's aid, as Zhao did 13 years ago. Sun Bin suggested Tianhe do the same exact thing as before, attack Dalian. Pang Quan was forced to go to the aid of Dalian once more. This time, Pan Huan wouldn't fall for the same trap. He brought more troops, avoided main roads, and prepared for the upcoming battle. When it happened, his cost was rewarded as the Qi army was sent en route. Pan Quan began a rigorous pursuit, determined to prevent Sun Bin's army from rallying and turning back. On the first day of pursuit, he noticed Sun Bin's army had made enough stoves for about 100,000 men. The next day, he noticed the amount of stoves was halved to only support 50,000. This meant that Sun Bin's confused and terrified army was now only half of its previous strength and likely still having more deserters. By the third day, Sun Bin was down to only enough stoves for 30,000 men. To make it worse, he even was forced to leave behind siege engines. Pang Quan would laugh, knowing his final victory was assured. He left with his cavalry to scare the remnants of Sun Bin's fractured army. Pan Quan would make it to a valley where 10,000 crossbowmen would appear around him and fire, slaughtering his whole cavalry unit. Pan Quan would either die to the crossbows or take his own life. Now leaderless, the rest of the Wei army would be easy for Sun Bin to destroy. Sun Bin's victory at Ma Ling combined the strategy of besieging Wei to rescue Zhao with the tactic of missing stoves. The tactic of missing stoves itself is an early example of psychological warfare and trickery, based on manipulating an enemy by making them incorrectly assume the size of your army. Instead of this assumption being based on something like reports, it's instead based on something more concrete, such as the amount of men the army can supply and logistics. This gave Pang Quan the confidence to soon attack Sun Bin, especially after Sun Bin's initial famed retreat. This was a truly brilliant victory combining three brilliant strategies, two being of Sun Bin's own creation. Sun Bin's victories at Guiling and Miling are immortalized in history due to the brilliant strategies Sun Bin invented and used. Few others in history would ever be able to replicate his brilliance and use his strategies as well as he could. His true brilliance is best captured by the fact that he created these strategies that ensured victory before the true battle was even started. Sun Bin's masterstrokes emphasized use of trickery and indirect methods of warfare to result in victory. Next episode, we shall analyze the victories of a great Russian commander who specialized in his direct warfare and unstoppable attacks. This is perhaps one of the greatest offensive commanders in history, and honored with many titles, including the God of War, the greatest soldier, and perhaps greatest of all, Napoleon's one and only equal.